So now the game throws another curveball at you. After you've beaten the previous level, you might assume that the next level you do is Begonia Day, because you just cleared Begonia Night. But instead, you're told to go to Chun-Nan, which is the China of this game. So that's weird. But it's like, yeah, the game throws a lot of curveballs at you in terms of level progression. Another thing I like about the world map is that the geography of the world is not exactly like our world, even though it's got Earth culture equivalents. So that's good, it helps make it feel more like a different world from ours, which makes it all the more unacceptable that it's still called Earth. Like, I don't know why they can't just call it Mobius. I mean, after the comics rebooted, they still called it Mobius, didn't they? I don't know, I've never read the comics. And wonderful! I love how that kid made a food joke. Like seriously, I don't get it. What's so funny about liking food? Saying you like food isn't a joke. It's a statement. It really feels like they starved the writers for this game because there's just so many needless jokes about characters liking to eat. Like, that is not even... It's not the lowest form of comedy, that would be B puns, because literally all you're doing is just emphasizing the word B, which is going to happen a lot because the word is used so commonly. But they're pretty close to it. But yeah, you have to go through this place. And again, I like how much faster it is in the Wii version. Even though you don't always go to exactly where you want when you press a certain direction with the control stick. Okay, Sonic is only wearing shoes. So, is she saying that she thinks people from his country only walk around wearing shoes? Or what? Or is she just talking about his shoes? But it is nice that people actually comment on the fact that you're dressed differently from them. It makes the place feel a little more alive. Oh, joy. So, the Wii version cut out the day stage for no reason. There's only a werehog level here. At least, as far as I can see, anyways. There actually is a day stage of Chunnan. And I'm going to be showing that off later. But yeah, as you can see, collecting a bunch of medals allows you to open certain doors in the Gaia temples. Minor nitpick here, I wish that instead of having to memorize the colors of the warp panels to know where they take you, that they actually had signs in front of them saying where they would take you. And every time you go to one, you get a loading screen. So I'm not really sure if it's faster warping to a temple from another temple. I guess it is convenient. You can only warp to temples that you've been to already. I guess that would allow for sequence breaking. Although again, as long as there's a stipulation in the game that you have to do a werehog level after you do a day level, and vice versa, I don't see why they shouldn't have non-linear level progression where you go to any country you want at any time. Like, you go to Alaska Day, you beat it, now you have to go to a night level again. But, you can go to any night level that you want. Now that would be fine. There would be nothing wrong with the non-linear level progression, because it's not like the plot needs to... I mean, like, you could play the cutscenes of the game in practically any order for the most part, and it would still make sense. That's how bare bones the story is. But anyways, it just sucks that... It just sucks that you have a night level right after another night level. But yeah, this is a platforming challenge that allows you to get a whole bunch of things like illustrations and hints and, more importantly, lives. Which is awesome. You basically get, like, that blue thing over there behind the fence is a permanent extra life. So, you permanently start out with 3 extra lives instead of 2 on the counter. this area introduces this challenge, where you stand in rays of light so you turn back into Sonic. Unfortunately, I fell down there instead of being able to use Lightspeed Dash because Sonic moves so fast. I hate having to wait for these slow platforms to slowly come down. And this area really goes to emphasize how slippery Sonic moves because he's so fast. What you have to do is you have to go here as Sonic and crawl or slide under it. But I didn't realize that at first, so I left this area. Yeah, I thought that I recorded getting it, but apparently I didn't. So I wasn't able to show it off. But yeah, there is an extra life there. But when I first showed up at that extra life, I didn't know how to get to it, so I just quit and came here. So technically, this was the first temple platform challenge I completed. I like to call these areas Gaia Gates. And like I kind of like the concept of this. These are entirely dedicated to the platforming. And it takes advantage of both the Werehog's platforming skills and Sonic's. Like there's virtually no combat for the Werehog to be had. It's all taking advantage of his best skill, his platforming. Oh, I do have a complaint. I really wish that there were rays of darkness so that you could turn into the Werehog whenever you wanted, rather than having to have a time pressure and run as Sonic as fast as you possibly can to reach where you want to. Especially since when you're expected to rush with the slippery controls of Sonic that can easily send you spiraling into bottomless pits, it's not really good design. Like, it's a good thing that these bottomless pits don't take away any lives. But yeah, because of the way the camera is, and there's really no depth perception at all. So I had a really hard time figuring out how I was supposed to get this when I first played the game. Like, I died a lot here because I was just trying to jump into it, but either I couldn't jump high enough, or I jumped too low. And it would be much better if you could just rotate the camera around you freely. But no. Even in the HD version, you can't do that. Now I can sort of understand the Wii version doing it because the Wii doesn't have a camera stick on its controller for some reason. Meaning that Wii games tend to have inferior cameras too. I went through all that trouble for a secret illustration? Really, game? Really? It's like, it was so difficult just getting that thing. Like, I came into that area assuming that every Gaia Gate was guaranteed to get you at least one permanent extra life. But no. So that was a waste of time. Especially since, while I try to get every single thing, every single item in the game, I ultimately fail. Like, I think there's certain items that you can only get once you've gotten past a certain mission. Like, you'll understand much later in the LP. But anyways, we're entering another Werehog level. Isn't that great, guys? Right after we just had one. At least this is a little... Well, this is much more interesting aesthetically. Spagonia was a little bit too much like Apotos. Which makes sense since it's... Like, Apotos is Greece, and Spagonia is basically Italy. So it kind of feels redundant having both Italy and Greece in the same game. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Kind of makes it feel a little too samey aesthetically. At least they don't look exactly the same. But yeah, Chun-Nan is definitely where the game's difficulty starts picking up because it introduces bottomless pits. And there's more annoying combat. Something unintuitive is that you can actually break by punching the walls to the right of me there. Like those doors. No, not those things. That cracked wall. You can break that. And I think I remember walking past a whole bunch of those things. And I decided, No, I'm not gonna backtrack to break them. I already do enough backtracking in these levels as it is. So, screw it. But yeah, I'm in another werehog level. And you know what that means? Trivia time! Because there's only so much that I can talk about when it comes to these places, to be honest. Like, I've already made all the complaints that I have. Like, I hate fighting these things that you have to swing on. It sucks that you can get attacked in your animations. Like, the combat feels cheap because of it. And the fact that you're forced to fight all these enemies instead of just running past them just screams padding. But yeah. Yeah, see, here's the point where I just said, no, I'm not gonna backtrack to find all the other cracked walls. Screw it. So anyways, it's trivia time. Sonic Unleashed is the third game in the series having an E10+ rating. Fourth counting Sega Superstars, which is a PS2 game with a bunch of different Sega characters. It was a silly minigame collection using the iToy controller, which is basically the Kinect. You had to use your whole body to control it. It was the only Sega Superstars game to get a release in Japan. It was incompatible with the PlayStation 3, and it somehow got a T rating from the ESRB. It was also the only PS2 Sonic game that was on a CD-ROM and a DVD-ROM. I never played it, which is natural since I never owned a PlayStation and I'll never have any interest in a Kinect-like controller. I prefer real controllers, to be honest. But yeah, we just passed by the first example in the game of a platforming section where you have to jump between different floating platforms with a bottomless pit separating them. Which is actually pretty tense when you've got slippery controls. Like, the werehog is pretty slippery, and he has a lot of momentum when he's walking and when he's jumping. And this level also introduces the novel concept of poles that move around over bottomless pits. And so you have to time jumping off them, and you have to jump off the correct side of them. Like, again, it's a good platforming challenge. But it just feels kind of tense when you've got a slippery character. Oh, here's another thing that this level introduces. It's kind of hard to tell where you should place the crate because of the camera. You can't freely rotate the camera to be to the side of Sonic. So it's kind of hard to tell how far away you need to place the crate in order to place it in the right area. Like, what you need to do is place the crate here. So that was misleading. But yeah, I just feel like this level's a little too tense because there's so many bottomless pits everywhere and you're kind of slippery. I could have sworn that I pressed the X button when I was jumping towards a swinging enemy, but I still fell. I feel like the button prompts disappear a little too fast, and sometimes the game fails to register that you press the grab button. Like, maybe it just registers too late or something. And then by the time that you are too far below the enemy to grab onto it, you try to grab, and then you fall to your death. But I do appreciate this challenge. Like, it's pretty creative. Yeah, you've got to jump facing that direction, or you're not going to be able to get over here because there's so much momentum when you jump. They were originally going to call this game Sonic Adventure 3, which is ironic because this is nothing like the adventure games, especially in story. The same goes for Sonic Heroes. They were going to call it Sonic Adventure 3, until they decided on making it a game more like the classics in tone to bring in more fans. This game, as a remnant of its prospective title, is called Sonic World Adventure in Europe and Japan. It was going to be called Sonic Adventure 3 until the team decided to make the game more focused on Sonic, which is really ironic considering that's 90% werehog. The werehog is Sonic, but still, like, usually I don't call the werehog Sonic. Like, when I talk about this game, I say Sonic and the werehog. Another complaint I have about this level is that, well, I guess breaking these jars gets you pink energy balls. They don't seem to fill up your leash meter though. Maybe they're experience points, but it doesn't really feel satisfying breaking the jars. At least in Zelda, when you broke pots, you were guaranteed to get satisfying stuff like ammo or like hearts or rupees. With this game, it kind of feels like a waste of time breaking all of the jars, but if you want to get a high rank, you have to do it, because you need to do that to get enough points. But yeah, they didn't call it an adventure game because you weren't going to be playing as any character other than Sonic. Like, at least the adventure games were honest about it. At least in the adventure games, they blatantly switched you to another character, so they were more honest and open with you about the fact that you were playing alternate gameplay. Past 06, the 3D Sonic games still have alternate gameplay, but they're a lot more sneaky about it, because you're still playing as Sonic the whole time, but there's still alternate gameplay from the best one. Even Sonic Generations has classic Sonic as the alternate gameplay. Not to mention the side missions that you have to do to get the boss keys in the Chaos Emerald, which really only serve to pad out the game, and they don't really play like the actual gameplay a lot of the time. Like, especially that Vector mission. Like, okay, so pulling that lever opens a door, but I had no idea where the door was in relation to me at that point. So I wandered around, not really knowing how I was supposed to get to that open door in the first place. Eventually I realized I had to go out of this room and go to the left in order to progress. But yeah, like, this was pretty misleading. I think them showing the door opening wasn't quite enough. I think they should have also had the camera pan out and like zoom in to show you how exactly you're supposed to get to it. Like, not only show the door opening, but also show this area. The problem is that the camera doesn't really do a good job of telling you that you can go right to go up the staircase to get here. It makes you think that you just go north to reach the dead end wall. So that's kind of confusing. And it's so dark here. Like, look at this. I didn't realize that I would fall into a lower route there. It was so dark there that I thought that there was a floor there that was too dark for me to see. But yeah, you just swing over here and you get to the goal ring. After 10 minutes. And I'm down to 1 life. Or maybe it's 2 lives. Maybe this is a game that has 0 and the life counter means something. I just hate how inconsistent it is with games, so that it says 0 as a life, but some games don't do that.